All right, I'm here with Taylor Herron. Taylor is the founder of Sales Automation System, and you guys run and manage cold outreach, outbound systems for customers like RB2B, Fyxer AI, and Directive.
Mhm.
And I think for some of them, you're sending up to 10 million emails per month. So both on how to do cold outreach in 2025 and how to do very tailored signal-based outreach. Wanted to have you on, so thank you for joining.
Yeah, excited to be on. Thank you for having me, man.
Anything you would correct or add on to that little intro?
Um, technically speaking, we're sending 8.5 billion emails a month for Fyxer, which is still a lot, you know.
That's for one.
It's
Is that for one customer or overall?
that's just for Fyxer.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, that was just for Fyxer. And like also when we were doing like our peak conversions on that is when we're sending about 8.5 million a month. We're converting about like 900 people a week
Crazy.
into like pure like PLG motion like signups. So that is approximately what 4,000 users a month
Hmm.
that channel can bring them. So
Incredible.
that doesn't suck.
Yeah. So everyone I see on LinkedIn is saying that cold email is dead. And it's either some version of you need to be doing cold calling, or you need to be doing signal based warm outreach to people, or you need to do something like content, thought leadership, founder brand. You
Yeah.
clearly disagree and made the opposite work. So if you had to, steelman the opposite of why cold outreach is not at all dead in 2025, what's your case?
Well, it's I actually agree with a lot of people
Hmm.
on it, right? I think for a lot of people, cold email as they know it is completely dead. Because it was only 2 years ago. I mean, this is how I actually stumbled into this space. 2 years ago, I was just an account executive at a company, sending 1,000, 2,000 emails a day from my own work Gmail account with no issues whatsoever. And I was able to just close deals like that. And the issue that I ran into was that I was like, oh, Google only lets me send a max of 2,000 emails a day. Well, how can I do more? I'll just get more email accounts. And then eventually, met with people like Jesse Alette and stuff. And then I was like, oh, let's do multi-domain infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. And so I just so happened to be able to kind of figure out the multi-domain angle before Google started saying, no, you can't send 2,000 emails a day because no human can actually do that.
Hmm.
And so the thing is that cold email in that way is completely dead, right? Like your salespeople just adding a bunch of people to a Rolodex of campaigns every single day, just blasting the market with 16-step campaigns because we all think that, there's 11 touch points for somebody before they buy, but it's actually, they're referencing something called I think it's the 7-11-4 rule.
Hmm.
It's 7 hours of content, 11 touch points, and 4 channels
Hmm.
typically, right? Like that's the average buyer, right? And so, anyways, so it's not so much that I think that they're wrong. It's like cold email, as they even think of it, is a completely different game
Right.
than what it used to be, right? Um,
I mean, first principle thinking, I guess, as long as your buyers read emails, you can reach your buyers on email. And if you
mhm.
say the right thing and you have the right offer, there's no reason why they cannot convert into
Yeah,
customers. It's just the scale and the unit economics of everyone doing it, and now it's become harder to land in people's inboxes because of the thing you mentioned. All of these things compound into it,
yeah,
just become much harder to do.
yeah, yeah, completely. And also, I just think that most people they just try to do the easy stuff. They try to do the things like how many people will come to us in our sales process and they'll just be like, "Hey, I have this business and it's okay. Can you make it really, really good by sending cold emails for me, though?" It's like, no, that's not what it does. In fact, I just think a lot of people just think about cold email wrong in a lot of ways. Like right now, I view cold email as a channel. That being, when people look at ads, ads is a channel, and you already know that Meta dictates the rules of your channel. You already know that when you run ads on Google search, Google is dictating the rules of that channel, right? And for some reason, people think of cold email differently, and I don't, right? Eric is the first one who kind of like Eric Nowalowski put like a word to this where he was like, I view it a lot like cold email. I was like, I view cold email a lot like ads. And I was like, that's what it is, right? And so, like, as with any channel, it's understanding like what are the law, the you can call them laws, they're in government or whatever, but what are the
Hmm.
rules that Daddy Google has set up
Hmm.
for us that we need to go around? And also, Google doesn't tell you the rules, kind of like the IRS a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Um, Maybe as a first step, what do you look at when a company comes to you and they say, we do want to do cold email? What should be in place? Because you said it can't fix a bad business.
Yeah,
What makes a good initial setup to say, okay, let's scale this channel, cold email?
yeah. Well, let's first define two primary buckets of cold email that do work, right? The first one is what I would call the Navy SEALs, and it's more similar to the method that most people are already familiar with. The problem with their method is that they're just doing it wrong, and I'll come back to that real quick. The other method is what I like to call carpet bombing, right?
Hmm.
And my general core philosophy there is let's send one cold email to your total addressable market, to every single person in your total addressable market. Let's send them one cold email every 2 months. We're not going to hit them with 4-part sequences, trying to get them to book a meeting right now. Can you just send one thing that's valuable, right? Don't even have an ask. Like, if you can treat it like content, if you can treat it like everything else where you should give instead of take, and you're just simply trying to build goodwill in the marketplace, if you just approach it with that frame, I think cold email can like really slap. I think the problem is that a lot of people come into this just like everything else, and it's like, how can I squeeze every dollar out of this as soon as possible and not make it a long-term channel because I'm just trying to focus on now, right? And so anyways, I think just you send one email. It can just be like one of our clients right now is a lead development or like a lead database company. They're called Wizza,
Hmm.
and their campaigns are literally like, "Hey Joe, like we have a private lead database, mobiles, phone numbers. It's better than Zoom Info, but do you want us to send you 500 leads for free? Just tell us what criteria you want, and we'll shoot over the CSV." Right? And so, like when you're doing that kind of stuff, cold email is really, really good. The issue with most people, though, is that they try to go, their cold emails are, "Hey Joe, you exist. So do I. So can I take your time?" It's literally just that, right? It's all the emails are like that. And then also their emails are email number 2 is, "Hey Joe, did you get my last email about how we exist?" Right? "Oh, hey Joe, I'm so important. Did you get the second email trying to follow up with you?" Oh,
Yeah.
and then the fourth email is like, "Oh, hey Joe, are you the right person to talk to? Should I actually talk to Sally?" And they're just
Yes.
like, "Dude, screw you. I'm gonna block you so IT team knows to make sure to not for you to not talk to Sally." So that's how most
Mm.
people treat it. Right?
So you usually offer some free value in that first email, like sending 500 contacts.
I think it's a no-brainer. You either have to have like a really good like lead magnet or something free or valuable. Because here's also how I'm looking at it. And this will take me back to the Navy SEALs idea. Is that I think people should be using cold email to identify the really good targets for their sales team. Because you can turn cold leads into warm intent leads. And there's a few ways to do that. So like if you have a PLG motion, like our plan for Wizza is we're helping them kind of build out some processes for their sales team as they're going to scale and blah, blah, blah. But like we're like, yo, let me drive your PLG motion. And just we're going to try angles like certain hierarchies of companies, smaller companies that typically wouldn't be high value, blah blah blah. But like, let's just drive signups, and then your own internal mechanisms for identifying high value clients will kick in. And then now when Joe calls, Sally or whatever, and Sally isn't a cold lead anymore. Sally just signed up for the tool, so now you're the helper. Now you're the especially if your salespeople are trained properly to not just try to close people and they're actually caring about like actually helping your customers, right? If they call Sally and go, "Hey Sally, just saw you signed up, you got 500 free credits. Would you like me to build the list for you?" Or what? Like, there's so many avenues now where
Yeah.
like you can become the helper and like build really good intentions with people versus just being salesy and trying to push them towards something. And so that's where the Navy SEALs come in, where like you already have a team that's like focused on like the top 200 accounts each or whatever their thing is. I don't think they should be sending any automated emails. I think they should be writing manual emails to everybody on top
Hmm.
of the manual LinkedIn, manual calls, the manual dinners with high value accounts to develop relationships and just happen to be at the same conference as the guy who can be $1 million account for you, stuff like that. And so I think you combine both of those when they work on top of each other at the same time, then you just have two machines. Just like, once again, any channel, when you add it on, increases the efficacy of other channels typically, right? Because they see you on ads, they see you in their emails, they also see you when they meet Sally in person, who's on your sales team. and so on.
So the way that I'm thinking about it is, if the kind of standard approach, which let's say it's sending 1,000 emails per month with some generic messaging, I'm a person, you're a person, can I grab some time with you? That approach doesn't work anymore. There, you can
Yeah.
go one of two ways. You can either say, instead of sending 1,000 emails per month, we're going to send 1,000,000 emails per month. And this is the kind of carpet bombing, and ideally you have some good free offer in the email. Or you can say, let's actually send a lot fewer emails, but high quality, research, personalized emails. And so instead of sending 1,000, you send maybe 20 a month. I don't know. And it feels like the carpet bombing makes sense for low ACV PLG type SaaS, while the Navy SEALs team works for high ACV, sales led. We're selling into enterprise. We have a 50K ACV, 100K ACV. Is that how you think about it?
Almost. It would be almost as if it wouldn't be, or it would be each one slightly overlapped, and it's simply a matter of how much are they overlapped or not. So, for example, for Fyxer, right? They, like, all of the signups we're doing at it, like if we sign up 4,000 people in a month for them, their sales team isn't going to call all of them. They're probably going to only identify like 10 of them, where they go like, these are like the really high value accounts that, like, I should hit them up and be like, yeah, the whales, right? And so, like, for them, it's just simply, it's a small overlap, right? But then on the other end of the spectrum, we have Directive, right? They have a total TAM of about like 400,000 to 700,000 people. So we build a machine where we're sending about that many emails every 2 months for them. And but you know, their LTV, actually, I don't think I can say that specific component of their business or whatever, right? But it's in the tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so for them, they have like their Navy SEALs for sure, but we're piping in, like right now we're doing, I was just looking at our thing, we've gotten them 70 positive replies this week. So that's since Monday. We already have 71 positive replies, and that was last night. And they convert half of those into meetings, right? And so a lot of it has, it's a blend, and I think both synthesize with each other well if you set up your business machine in the right way to be able to do it.
Interesting. Is there some ACV death valley where it's too big that you can't run a PLG motion and just send 10,000, 100,000 emails a month?
I'm not sure. I will say what we do is, like, we our qualifiers for our performance model right now. Normally we charge like a $14,000 a month retainer to send like 100,000 emails a month. But we have a performance model where if somebody has more than 1 million contacts in their TAM, or if their LTV is over 30,000, then we open up the performance. Then we go like, hey, it's $5,000 a month. We'll send an unlimited amount of emails. We'll have a performance track set up on top of that. If it's pay per meeting or pay per sign up or just a total rev share on cash collected, whatever, we sort it out with each business, because every business is so different on their margins and how they collect and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But we basically set that up with them. And so, so I think theoretically, I've kind of established that, like, hey, if their TAM's smaller than 1 million, it probably doesn't make sense for us to drive like PLG. If their LTV is less than 30K, then it probably doesn't make sense for us to like do high volume cold email for them, right?
Yep. So let's say a company is selling into mid-market and enterprise, into some VP level persona. So it's a top-down sales motion. It's 100K ACV. What would you be setting up for them? What kind of infrastructure? How you would be qualifying? What signals would you be tracking?
Yeah, what I would do is ideally all of the accounts are already identified. You have some sort of engineer who can do enrichments, who can go like, hey, here's all of our clients that we currently have, and here's who they are. Here's all the demographics of how they overlap. For some reason, like for us, sales teams that are between 5 and 10 people are our sweet spot. Don't know why, but when I evaluated all of my clients, that is just what it ended up being, right? And so, like, it's not a disqualifier, but it's something where when someone hops into our funnel and we enrich it and it goes, oh, they have 5 to 10, I go, oh, if I call that person instead of another person, I'm probably more likely to get a client that I like. That makes sense, right? So anyways, most companies should have things set up like that. If they don't, they should have a good GDM engineer that can like use Clay or something like that to be able to set up those types of systems. And so like for that particular example, like for Directive, what we're doing, because they're probably the most similar to that kind of
Yeah.
example, is that we're shooting them an email, and he's asked me not to go over the copy because it's actually the first time. His name's Garrett, the guy who runs the company.
Yeah, he was on the pod.
Oh, cool, dude. He's he's a client where I learn from him, and I love it. It's so cool. It's the first time that I went, hey, here's my copy that I think we should do. And then he goes, here's the copy that I think that we should do. And like the client won, and I was like, dude, like you beat me. Like, congrats. Like that's huge, right? And so so that's really cool. And the other funny thing too with him is he wanted to do. We sent him the first batch of copy, and he was like I want the best stuff. Can you do all the really cool shit? Like, can you do the AI stuff? And like, can you do all these signal based things and like all of that? And this is once again being applied towards our high volume email, not like targeted. There's certainly a place for signals in that motion where you're trying to be targeted, for example. But he was like, can we do all this really cool stuff? And then he was also, oh, and also like, here's my version of a copy that I think will work. All the AI stuff was just like, no, useless. Garrett's copy just slapped. It performed like 3 times better than the rest.
Wow.
And then he came back a month later and was like, oh, can I tweak it? And then it got better. And I was like, dude, props to you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we spent some time. I'll link the episode in the show notes to break down their LinkedIn ads playbook, because they do a lot of conversation ads too, and they offer a lot of kind of Amazon gift cards to people. And he spent some time breaking down our LinkedIn ad copy, and he made some improvements on the podcast. So.
I bet, man. Yeah, he's one of the best in the whole world right now.
But let's say, so I think they sell into like the kind of like director, VP, media buying, something like that,
sure.
Let's say, at large accounts. Would you still send one email every 60 days to every single VP at these accounts? Or would it just be, let's enrich them, let's get the signals, okay, when someone has this and this and this and this criteria?
Yeah. It's, okay, I think you just helped me think of what the qualifier there is. So our qualifier for ourselves, where it's like, hey, you should hire us, is you have over 1 million contacts or you have an LTV over 30K, right? But like we have people come in where they're like, yo, my total addressable market is like 10,000 companies and I sell $250,000 thing, right? Like I don't need you to send 100,000 emails a month. We only need like 10,000. And usually what I do with those people is usually I just teach them how to do it themselves, because it's so small. It's like, bro, you need to send 5,000 emails every month in order to hit your 10K, to just like put that on autopilot. And like they're also so targeted that like it's probably gonna be really easy to write AI custom lines for each one at scale. So you could probably just set up a clay table one time and have that thing trigger once every 2 months, and then set a cap on your sequencer. You can totally automate the whole thing, you know? And I think it's going to be pretty easy. And so usually one will either just be like, yeah, like here's how you could do it on your own. You don't need us for high scale. Here's how you can do it. Sometimes we have brought on some clients where they're just like, well, like we just want you to do it for us. Like we don't have the time to do it ourselves or whatever. And like we've set up special deals for those types where we just, it's like, okay, let's do a performance cup. We'll do a smaller retainer, less than our normal 5K a month or whatever. But those are like when they have to be exceptional. So I actually don't like talking about that option too much, because then people start coming saying, hey, I'm the special exception, and I'd rather them kind of identify themselves,
Yeah. What would be what would be the tech stack? So let's say you build the table on Clay, you have your whole TAM in there, 10,000 accounts, and then you push into Smart Lead, or I think I saw you talking about them. What's the sequencer?
Yeah. So you can, it's purely up to your preference. You can use Smart Lead or Instantly. I'm going to have a deliverability test on my LinkedIn pop up within the next week or two. So by the end of July, it should be up, at least the first phase of it. There's a lot of data inside of it. But basically, we sent like 250,000 emails, and we evaluated the deliverability of inboxes, of certain warm-up networks, of sequencers, layered all of those on top of each other. So there's technically like 500 different variants of campaigns that we're analyzing. And anyways, Instantly and Smart Lead are always up there. I will say, if you're doing enterprise deliverability, where you really want to be able to get into the Fortune 500, so people that have like Proofpoint, Spamhaus, Barabbas, if you're trying to target those types of accounts, then what you want to use is something called Email Bison. And I believe it's email bison.io, or let me see, emailbison.com. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The founder's really cool. His name's Hassan. Really, really cool dude. But his tech is really good for delivering into enterprise. And usually, what you also want to do with that is you want to have a scaled mail type inboxes
Mm-hmm.
set up for that particular type of deliverability. Uh, and so that one's like really, really good and cracked for enterprise. So for example, if you try to do like a normal Gmail inbox on like Instantly or Smartly, you'll get like a 1.5% reply rate. If you do it on Bison, you'll get like a 4%. So it gives you like a
Wow.
2-3x multiple on your enterprise deliverability when you combine Bison with scaled mail. I think it's scaled mail Outlook accounts specifically that do that. So that one's
Yeah.
really, really handy. But for everything else, right, that's like very small amount of the things. We use Instantly plus premium inboxes as a
Mm-hmm.
reseller for all of our Gmail accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And but also through our data testing, it looks like Instantly and Smartly are basically on parity, and they kind of change deliverability kind of just week over week. And so you can be on one week it will be bad, one week will be good. They just kind of even out with each other because some of these things are fairly variable and random. So
Why one email every 60 days? Why not 30 days? Why not 90 days?
um, I think you could push. So the main thing is so I don't know about you, but when I get the second email from somebody, that's when I hit spam, right?
The follow-up?
Uh, yeah, it's like the first email. It's like, cool, make your pitch. All
Yeah.
right, whatever, archive. You know, okay, not interested, whatever. The second email comes in, I'm like, bro, like you're just gonna keep sending these, and your offer sucks anyways. The second, like, all you did was remind me that your first email wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Right? So like, there's just certain things where it's like, there's no reason to send more than one email. Okay, so then the next question is like, where can you go? We know for sure that safely, if you send it every 2 months, they don't remember the email that they got a month ago. So like, ideally, your salesperson is reaching out to them because they, you've seen them on your website or something like that, or
Yeah.
their company just raised funding, or like, so hopefully you're reaching out to them because you have a reason. We're like with
Yeah.
the cold email at scale, we are emailing them just because they exist, right? And
Right.
so we don't want to be able to, we don't want to bug them too much just because of that. So I think
Yeah.
that's maybe the logic behind it.
I mean, I know that you guys always test a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things, but I mean, you must have a bird's eye view on hundreds of different campaigns and messaging and
Mm-hmm.
segments and what works and what doesn't work and what gets replies and what doesn't get replies. If you had to distill some principles of what makes a good message with a good segment, how would you break down
Yeah,
a couple of those principles?
there's a few. I'll try to talk about generally, but there's definitely a lot of, every business is for sure different within this, and so it can be it can be a little hard to think of like something that's all encompassing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a few things that come to mind, right, is like make your email as easy to just say yes to. Um,
Mm.
and so I don't think asking for a meeting is a good way to do it unless you're making it really easy for them to ask for the meeting. So, for example, Garrett, right? He invented the whole hey, if you take a meeting with us, we'll give you a gift card thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's something where, like, even though you have a meeting, because you're making it really easy for them to say yes to the meeting because you're bribing them, that's technically a way of like doing that. So you can kind of come up with different ideas for how to do that, right? But other than that, like almost all my copy. In fact, am I able to share my screen
Yeah, go for it.
on Riverside?
Go for it.
So like I made this, and this was really interesting because this was something where this is based on like Fyxer, but I think that there is certainly ways where okay, boom. There
Mm-hmm.
are certainly ways where I
Can
think
you
people can like,
zoom in a little?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
So
perfect.
basically, we the redacted client was Fyxer for this.
And you can
Um,
X out our little window there in the corner.
oh yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Um, and so for Fyxer, here's kind of the general copy that we did, and like this was the specific for. So their average copy, we would send something like I think it was like 1,100 emails in order to get one person to sign up, right?
Mm-hmm.
This particular variant, when targeted to SaaS founders, was as low as like 450, right? So it was performing like 3 times better than the norm, right? And so, and this was after we had like, we technically had like 250 different splits on copy, right? So this was something I put together that's like, hey, here's a general framework, like here's how it worked, right? And so the first thing that I think I disagree with a lot of people on is I think subject lines don't matter literally at all. In fact, I think most people hurt themselves by trying to get creative with the subject line. I think your subject line should say absolutely nothing in a perfect world. Because the second you're like, do you have X problem, question mark? It's like, I read that subject line, I'm like, you are selling me something, right?
Yeah.
The whole point is to get them to not know enough to be able to click and open it because you want them to actually read it.
Yeah.
Like, so my main goal there is like, let's just not get immediately disqualified.
Yeah.
And so I really don't think subject lines matter because I think most people are null to subject lines or numb to subject lines, right?
Well, I think they matter in the sense that what you say, the default kind of, it's like kind of Project 33X sales automation systems dash quick
Yeah.
meetup question mark. And it's like, if I read that, I know this is a cold email.
Yeah, exactly. Demo for X. I'm like, come on, man. Yeah. And so that's where, so yeah, to your point, like subject lines do matter, but yeah, I think it's just different in most how people, I think most people try way too hard at the subject line.
Yeah.
But like, if I'm going to do a subject line for Fyxer, I'm just going to write inbox.
Yep.
You know? And I'm probably going to write it lowercase instead of a capital I just to make it look a little bit different from everything else that they see. You know, so like that's kind of what I mean. But like, it doesn't matter that much. Just do something to where people know absolutely nothing about what it is, right? Now, this is way more important because the opening line is going to be viewable inside their inbox, right? And so this is where I think you can actually like insert here. And then like for whatever reason, what typically works for us is like, let's talk about the benefit that they're going to receive immediately. Because we should also be talking about them. I think I get way too many cold emails where they're just like, hey, we've done X and it's really cool. And we've also helped this company. And it's just like we versus like, like get them to think about themselves. Right. And so like here, if you suddenly had X benefit, how would you use that benefit? And then these are really cool because like this is a really good opportunity where like you can typically infer what benefits they would get based on what their job is. So for Fyxer, we were like, hey, Joe, if you suddenly had an extra hour a day, how would you spend it? And we would look at their job title and write in lines based on what are their typical time consuming things. And so these lines are actually like custom writ with AI every single time to contextualize a little bit about there. And then we always wanted to end it. We didn't A/B test this specific thing here, but like we also like to end it with like a personal thing. So like picking up your kids early, an hour earlier, picking up a cup of coffee on time every morning because you're not rushed or things like that, right? Then we go, hey, we built X. It does Y. It integrates seamlessly with this, and it's super easy to use. And so like how this actually looks for, oh yeah, it's redacted. I forgot. But like for Fyxer, right? Hey, if you had an extra hour a day, where would you spend it? Do it this, do it that. My brother and I built an AI tool that automatically categorizes emails in your inbox and drafts replies for you. It plugs right into Gmail, and that would actually be a variable because we could tell if they were in Gmail or Outlook, and Fyxer only works with one or the other. It plugs into Gmail and does its thing. It's so simple to set up. It saves most people an hour a day. That means you can redeploy those hours into growth, whether it's building pipeline or an early dinner with the family. Reply yes if you'd like the link to sign up. Either way, thanks for reading. I'll keep it short and sweet. So this, for whatever reason, was the one
that second to last sentence was the most interesting to me because that the reply yes for more information, because that like that makes it very obvious that this is some probably even automated, right? Like I feel like no person would write an email that way. So I found that very interesting. Is that just kind of like a trade-off that you have to deal with if you're going to send 100,000 emails per month because you just cannot not
see? I think the thing is that I think so many people are trying to make sure that their emails don't seem automated when when's the last time you received an email and you thought, wow, a human wrote this? And then also if you did think that, why did that help? I don't think it does. At least in this world where I'm primarily, like a lot of my clients, we're trying to talk to people who understand what technology is, right? So for example, if I send this to like a local business with someone who's maybe a boomer, you're probably right? Like the reply yes for more information might turn them off. Yeah. But when you're talking to anybody who knows anything about sales, to me, I look for like, and I'm a unique cold email reader when I get cold emails for sure. But like to me, I'm looking for like sophistication when it comes into the email, right? So like having an AI line, this is just my opinion, having an AI line like this where I contextualize the copy based on the context of their job, to me is way better than like, oh my gosh, Joe, the PS, I noticed that X 5-star restaurant is really good. How is it? You know, like there's certain things like, or I just saw you were on a podcast, or
Right.
a lot of people do like that kind of stuff with AI, or like an icebreaker thing, or like, wow, I just saw that your company just raised X amount of dollars, or they like pull a new stuff. I look at all that kind of stuff and I'm like, that, I don't know how that moves the needle
Right.
at all. Right. So anyway, so like this, I like it because I feel like, and also for some reason, this was the best variant. Right. And so there's certain things here where I'm also trying to like infer why it worked. And some of it's just like, I think a lot of people read it and they just go, oh yeah, this is especially for Fyxer, right? This is an AI tool. So I actually kind of expect it to maybe be AI. Like maybe that's something that's helping them. But also we use like similar copy for like Directive, you know, and things like that. So like here I kind of did it for like other companies. Now, granted, this is not Directive's copy. I would have to like look at that layer and be like, okay, like how much of this is like what we actually do. But yeah, so like it's always, you know, it's very, very different business to business for sure.
How do you like A/B test? Because there's a million things that you can test, right? I mean, you could have a different subject line. You could have a different first sentence. You could have that AI placeholder be something completely different. You could have a completely different angle where you actually speak to a different benefit. Like there's a million things you could be testing. What are the
Yeah.
biggest like levers that make a function change, let's say?
Yeah. So what we typically do so our normal framework, we actually are starting to operationalize this significantly more on like what are the variables we can test. So we actually just had a call this week. So it's a really relevant question. So where we usually start is just vibe or style of the message. So my style is more typically short and punchy. Hey, we just built a tool that does X. Do you want it? Reply yes. Right. But then you have other styles that are like maybe a little bit more marketing or fluffy or, you know, blah, blah, blah. There's also ones that are like significantly more detailed. We see this pop up in cybersecurity for our cybersecurity clients, right? We're like, this is a more analytical person. So you want to be more detailed. You can get away with the email being a little bit longer because they actually like that, right? And so vibe and style is very much also, I go for each one of our clients, if I can get the founder, which usually we have a relationship with each founder, usually I go, hey man, if you could write one email and you could pull in any data point you want, just pretend that you can. Don't worry about if we can do it or if we can't. Just tell me like, what is your perfect email that you would write to somebody? And so for example, that's really important because for RB2B, Adam's email for them was way better than my short and punchy version. Eventually, the best version was actually a little bit of an overlay of each of those, where we took how he would write the first part of the email, and then the call to action was the reply yes, and we'll send you a link to sign up, and then his PS line. So it was a little bit of a combo eventually. But that's kind of what I mean by like vibe and style. It's like just like write a bunch of different versions of copy. We usually like to start with like 5 to 10, but it also depends on your sending volume, because you should send at least 1,000 emails per variant before you start making any judgments, right? And so vibe style is like the first thing that we start with, because it's also the one that I think is so different that when you start layering in the other things that you can optimize for, that it kind of just gets you the best head start on how to most quickly find the general idea, the rough pool of where you should be fishing for your messaging, right? So that's the very first one and probably the most important. Past that, you have like obviously your subject line. You can experiment with that because there are times where it can affect things. The hook of the email, I think a lot of people, if they get good at writing LinkedIn content, they probably get really good at writing copy. Copy just seems to be universal, right? So having a really good hook for it. You can experiment with the call to actions, of course. You can experiment with your specific offer. So like for Wizza, reply yes, and we'll send you reply with what type of leads you would want, and we'll send you a free list of 500, right? Those types of things can be really effective. And then of course, who you're targeting. So that being like hierarchies of companies. So like how many employee headcounts do they have? and then layered in with what are your top industries that you're going after, and then of course also layered with the seniority of that particular person at a company, because we'll also find that like this copy slaps to managers, but this copy does really good to founders. And so I think you want to be able to like layer in to be able to do that. The tough part about this is that the sequencers right now do not give you this data. And so like what I'm working on right now on the back end, and it might become something we release to the public, but like honestly, I think it'll be so powerful that I think I would make less money if I did that versus if I just got like way better at this. Is like I want to be able to build stuff to where like we're currently working on a backend type database where we can take all of that, enrich everything, and look at any campaign and be like, yo, this message is the one that worked best for this founder. And we don't have to like create a bunch of like split test variants. We can just like send emails and then analyze it afterwards. And so that'll be really cool when I do that. It's one of those things where I wish the sequencers already had some sort of like deep analytics built into it, but you know, it might be something that we do, or just ourselves, you know.
Have you ever helped companies think through what that offer should be that they offer in that first email?
Yeah, for sure. I would say the first thing is like if they haven't read $100 million offers, then like I'm like, bro, please just read that. So you don't even actually know what I mean when I say offer yet. So please just read that real quick. And it takes you 2 hours to read it.
Alex Hormozi, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so but yeah, we will help people like think through their offer. A lot of times it can be kind of just come self-evident. Like they'll just tell me what their offer is and I'll just be like, that sucks. That's a you exist, so do we kind of offer, you know? Like for example, I developed this system being an account executive at a staffing company. I was like, you guys are really good at what you do, right? Like you actually think you're better than everybody else in the entire world at this, right? And they go, yeah. I go, why wouldn't you just go, hey, most staffing companies suck. We know they're full of crap. We know. So on your very first job placement, for every employee you do not love, we'll send you a check for $1,000. It's like, why wouldn't you have some sort of thing to just be like, yo, we are good at the thing. And we only we'll only lose if we don't actually do a good job. Right. And it's just like, it's just to get them in the door. I think the other thing about offers too, is that like, just because you give an offer does not mean that you need to allow people to redeem the offer, especially in cold email. And so that's what's kind of nice about cold email is that like, you can hit a marketplace with the offer and you could be like, yo, if you take a meeting with us, I'll give you $1,000. Well, you said if they take a meeting with you, so you have to actually like accept the meeting with them and then like do the meeting with them in order for you to actually follow through on that thing. So like you can get the positive reply, be like, okay, this offer is getting us X results. Do we actually want to like meet with these people now and redeem it? Right. I think that's another thing that a lot of people can miss out on is like, you know, we had a client yesterday and she understood this like super quick. And she was super relieved because we were doing an offer kind of like that, where it's like, hey, if you meet with us, we'll give you a thing. And she was like we had like 5 people reply that like just aren't a good fit. And we were like, don't meet with them then. And she was like, oh, yeah, I can do that, huh? I'm like, of course you can. You know, like that's totally okay. So, yeah.
Fair. All right, Taylor, I feel like we went through a lot of things. We went through all the questions that I had. Cool. Anything you feel like that we completely didn't cover that I didn't ask about that's absolutely essential here?
I mean, I think if there's a core principle, because there's a lot of ways that you can look at cold email, is just like, I think anybody, if they approach this stuff in a data-driven way and they just measure everything that they're doing and they're really like thoughtful and tactful about what they do, I think you can ignore a lot of what I said, because at the end of the day, I do think that you just need to figure out what works for you and your business and your particular offer. And cold email is really cool because, once again, similar to an ad network, you can experiment with an idea. Like with ads, if I wanted to test product market fit before I create a product, I can spend $100 a day on ads and see what messaging like gets those people to actually click on the thing. And I don't actually have to give them anything. I don't have to have a product developed. I can just test ideas with ads. With cold email, it's the same thing, except with cold email, I think it's a lot cooler because you can actually pick the very specific person that you want to get it. Where ads are a little bit more generalized. They're a little bit more foggy. And you can't even tell like, you can't even tell who actually is the positive intent person. You just have this kind of foggy little framework of like, okay, it's this type of person that clicked on it, and that's all I know. And so cold email is really cool because you can be like, wow, I sent this offer to, you know, a large company that really knows their stuff, that is really experiencing this problem, and they replied positively to this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like you can get a lot more insight on it, and it doesn't cost much. You know, you can spend $100 on Smart Lead, get a couple inboxes, do 100 emails a day, and you could be able to test ideas as well. So
I do think people massively underestimate how many emails they need to be sending. I feel like what most people do is they sign up for whatever LEM list, send 200 emails, don't get a single reply, and then conclude that cold email doesn't work for them.
Yeah, I would agree. It can be a balance because a lot of people also don't have like really large TAMs as well. So like that is a limiting factor as well. But like, yeah, I think
What's
you
the
need to
minimum
send at
amount
least
of emails you would be sending before you make any conclusions?
We kind of operate kind of by like a rule of 1,000 in a way where,
Yeah.
like, if I'm not going to send 1,000 a day, it's really hard to gauge the efficacy of it. There's also, you can't just send 1,000 emails today and gauge that at all. You need to send 1,000 today, each day this week. And then when you send 1,000 next Monday, then maybe you can compare that to Monday. But also, like, oh, cool, we're 1 week also closer to July. So our out of offices doubled. Like, there's certain things where you just got to kind of like really understand the dynamics. And I just think the more data that you can get, the better. So I would at least do 1,000 a day, just because I don't think you can do anything in cold email with less than 1,000. And then on top of that, I don't think you should be doing, you know, I think you should send at least 1,000 emails like in a week for a specific variant, before you like gauge if that offer or the message is any like good or not, or something like that. Right.
Makes sense. Cool, Taylor. Thank you for joining. I will link both your LinkedIn and then your company sales automation systems in the show notes. So if people want to connect with you, check it out. They'll be linked up. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.